Welcome again, everyone. Take a moment to kind of stretch, look around, see who's here. We'll see who's on. Here we got, at least we got 20 people logged on, and there's a big crowd from Cary. And we got a good crowd here. So that's about 50 or 60 people that are in our community tonight, which is just wonderful. Welcome, everyone. Tonight, we're going to be finishing up our series on our Sutta summer series, where we take a sutta and we study it and do that. But I'm doing a little bit different tonight. So I have 3 caveats for tonight's talk. The first one is the talk may involve some political overtones. This is not to persuade anybody of anything or have anybody do anything in a way. It's just to put in the context why I chose the sutta I chose. The second caveat is that the sutta that I chose, that I looked at, only defines the situation. So I had to actually go to other suttas to get some more information on it. I actually went outside the Pali Canon to find some information. So the third caveat is that I'm still working on this. This happened. This is a situation that happened, and it's my personal experience and how I'm using the teachings to apply to this personal experience. So it's kind of personal. Now I want to tell you, before I tell you what the sutta is, I want to tell you the situation, how it happened. I was down at my cousin's on the coast. This was down in June. I think it was the last weekend in June. I was down there, and it was and I live kind of in a bubble, and my relatives, my cousins, have kind of the same political inclinations I have, but the area they live in does not. And there were a lot of signs, a lot of things going on that I was not familiar to seeing. And then they had the presidential debate, which I didn't watch, but I didn't hear good things about. So with that going on, I think this is so different than what I'm used to being around, what I'm doing, that one night I woke up, probably if I was ever asleep, I woke up, I was livid. I was so angry. I was so mad. How can people support this person? How can people do this? These people don't understand the harm they're doing. This is not good. When I hate this person, I hate these people that are doing this. Now, I'm a good practitioner. I've been doing this a long time. And I know that is not wholesome thinking. Hatred is one of the 3 defilements: greed, hatred, and delusion. I know anything that comes out of this is not going to be good. It's going to have a bad karmic impact. I laid awake for hours that night going, what's going on here? My mind, I was so angry. And thinking that I can't do this. I can't be angry. I can't have hatred. And then it hit me, and I would keep coming back to my breath. Let's just focus on my breath. It was my breath. Then my mind would take off again because I think of something that happened. One thing I did have to do that helped calm me down was to go, there's hatred here. I have hatred. There is hatred here. I think that pushing away of it was what was so agitating about it, that I was a bad person for doing this. Anger and hatred was here. And then once I kind of started looking at it that way, it's here, it's here. It's okay. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to have hatred. None of that sounds odd, and that just sounds odd in our teaching, but it really helped me to calm down. So I didn't sleep that night, and I knew when I got home I had to see what's going on here. I don't want to be at the mercy of what's going on out there for the next 4 months, the next 4 years, or whatever, because I'm going to be in this world, and how am I going to deal with this? And I kind of looked at it and it's anger, how could I find some peace? We talk about equanimity and peace. How do I find that? Where is it? It wasn't that night. So I started looking around, And I actually had I had read this is Bhikkhu Bodhi's teachings on social and communal harmony. And there's a section in there on that has to do with dealing with anger. And so the sutta that I have, I'm going to be doing tonight, is from the Saṃyutta Nikāya 1121. It's called the slaying of anger. And I don't do much with it's these are the connected discourses, and it's a real thick book, and I don't do much with it. So it's called the slaying of anger. Saka, ruler of the Devas, approached the Blessed One, the Buddha, and paid homage to him, stood to one side, and addressed the Blessed One in verse. Having slain what? Does one sleep soundly? Having slain what? Does one not sorrow? What is the one thing, O Gautama, whose killing you approve? Asking the Buddha, what killing do you approve? The Blessed One says, having slain anger, one sleeps soundly. Having slain anger, one does not sorrow. The killing of anger, O Saka, with its poisoned root and honeyed tip. This is the killing the noble one's praise, for having slain that, one does not sorrow. The killing of anger with its poison root and its honeyed tip. Now, there's a couple of references here to sleeping, which I was keying in on, but that poison root is anger, is one of the defilements. Hatred, and that's one of the defilements. The honeyed tip, that is my self-righteous anger. I love it. I am right. They are wrong. That is that honeyed tip of my anger, is that self-righteous anger. So that's the sutta that I started with. He said, it's okay to kill anger, so I got to work on the anger. And then I kept looking around. And I was reading an article in Lion's Roar, and they referred me to the book, The Way of the Bodhisattva. Now, this is in a different tradition. This is the Mahayana tradition, but this is what the 8th century Buddhist scholar Santideva says. He says, those tormented by the pain of anger never know tranquility of mind. Strangers they will be to every pleasure. They will neither sleep nor feel secure. And we'll come back to this in a minute, but I kept going, okay, there's this theme here. I got to get rid of this anger to get some sleep. Or how do I find peace? Where am I going to find this peace? So I have worked with anger. I have taught about anger. I know what the antidotes to anger are, but apparently I needed a little bit more. And so I kept looking. And Guttara Nikāya, the Buddha talks about 10 ways to remove resentment or anger. And in this one, it gives 10 ways, but he just says, thinking they are acting for my harm, what can one do about it? One removes resentment or harm for me. They're going to do harm for me. They're going to do harm for people that I like, or they're going to do benefit for people I don't like. Well, what can I do about it? And I remove resentment. And one of these days I may get there, but right now, just saying that's not going to do it. That's good. That's like, well, that's kind of, well, what difference does it make? So that wasn't doing it for me. And then in another sutta, the Buddha talks about 5 ways to deal with anger and resentment. And the first one is loving kindness for the person. And that one is the antidote. When we talk about the hindrances and everything we talk about the defilements, loving kindness, sending loving kindness to the person is one of the antidotes. That one I need. The second one, develop compassion for the person. I didn't do that very well that night. The third one is equanimity, which kind of goes back to that idea of like, well, it's okay, everybody's doing this, he's going through balance and everything. The fourth one is disregard the person and pay no attention. Now, that's the one I've been doing mostly around this person that we're talking about. I don't watch the TV a lot. I don't watch the news a lot. I switch it. Person comes on. I just know that it's going to aggravate me. So it's kind of like sticking your head in the sand kind of thing. And I've done that, and it's like that's not the final solution. The fifth one that he talks about is saying that person is the owner of his or own karma, that they're living out their life, and there are karmic aspects going on. We don't know all of them. With this person, these people that support this person, what I am going through. So looking at karma and going, everybody's working out their karma, and I can't work your karma for you. You can't work out mine. And knowing that if I'm operating with wholesome intentions, that things will work out, taking a long-term view of that. So those were the 5 ways that the Buddha talked about it. And there's also the ones about, in this book on the Shantideva that talks about the way of the Buddha. There's only 10 chapters on the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva is someone who is almost enlightened. I don't know exactly the whole thing, but they're hanging around helping. Their goal is to enlighten everybody, to get everybody enlightened. And out of the 10 chapters, one whole chapter is on patience. And patience is the other way to kill anger. Learning patience, being patient. And that's nice too. And the Buddha talked about, we heard about Buddha saying, I know you've heard the one about the Buddha where, if someone's pulling you apart limb by limb or cutting you apart by a sword, you would not utter one word against that person. And that's the extreme. That's what he's saying is no matter what they do to you, you will not get angry at them, and you will not utter a bad word against them. And here again, that's good. But I needed something practical. I need something to have on to when I'm lying there. What am I going to do? So this becomes kind of the personal part. What did I do? What did I do with these teachings? It's nice to know that, have patience. Someone's pulling you apart and all this and don't do anything. I'm just not there yet. So this is for me. This is some of the things I've come, in reading about these things, I'm going to work with. This is to help to develop peace. One thing, and it was kind of going back to that first night, anger and hatred is a defilement, and it is present within me. It's within everyone, all of us. Greed, hate, and jealousy, it's all within us. The defilements are within me. And I'm kind of thinking, well, it's waiting to be triggered or something. How do I manage it? But it's here. It's within me. It's not out there. It's not that person. It's within me. So that was that ownership of it. I don't want to see hatred. I don't want to hate people and stuff like that. But I've got to know that that's within me. So that helped. The second thing is obviously our mindfulness and our awareness practice. I look at being aware of anger, being aware when it arises, and I'm pretty good about that. I was pretty good before that night too. That anger is here, it has arisen, it's here, it's not mine. Oh, that's anger. That's just anger coming up. That's just anger coming up. It's that getting caught in it and getting that. That's what I was doing that night. I was getting caught in that anger. I was just angry at everybody and every situation, and the world's coming to an end and all this good stuff, and going like, I was just so angry about that. Knowing it's there, it's not mine, and can I be with it? And that was what I was trying to do. That can I be with this? Can I be with this hatred? Can I be with it? This is what our meditation practice helps us do as we practice in here, focusing on the breath, being with whatever's arising in that moment. And while the other thing, obviously, I saw that night was this anger causes suffering, and it causes me suffering. I don't think you know who was suffering at all. I was the one suffering that night. I was the one staying away. I saw the suffering. This anger is just causing me suffering. It was mine. I mean, I'm causing it. I can do something about it. Thich Nhat Hanh says, mindfulness recognizes anger, is aware of its presence, accepts and allows it to be there. Mindfulness is like a big brother who does not suppress his younger brother's suffering, He simply says, "Dear brother, I'm here for you." You take your younger brother in your arms and you comfort him. So that's, instead of trying to push it away and say, "Go away," you're here, I'm going to be with you, and we're going to do this together. The other, so that helps me. That helps me. Being able to see it is so important. That's why I practice. Being able to see, if I can see it, go, okay, this is anger. It's just here, and it's here. It's not mine. I don't have to get a hold of it. I've been doing that. That helps. And I do look at the karma. The karma is a belief where, we act out of wholesome intentions. We create less suffering for ourselves and others. We have unwholesome. I think that people are acting out of this karma. They're acting of unwholesome intentions. It's going to cause suffering for people. And so I believe that, and I believe that, like I said, I can't control it all. I can't control what they're doing. The Buddha says, one who repays an angry man with anger thereby makes things worse for himself. Not repaying an angry man with anger, one wins a battle hard to win. And sometimes we think of this when we're angry, we think we're in a battle. And we don't see it as that we're winning, but by not responding in anger, we actually are winning. So that's the karmic thing going on. I can do that. So that helps me. Another thing is impermanence. This is going to pass. Well, this too shall pass. This will go away. It's not going to be forever. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. It's impermanent. And I'm a history buff, so I look back and look at history, and things have been worse in the world. It doesn't make it right now, but it's been worse. And things are going to change. Things will always continue to change because of impermanence. The other thing that I learned was this anger goes a lot toward selfing. It creates a self, and that's delusion. I'm right, you're wrong. My view is the way things should be. How can you do this? Don't you know you're doing things wrong? I'm acting out of compassion. This was all about creating and maintaining a self, and this idea of a self. It supports that self, and particularly that self-righteous anger. Oh my, it just makes me feel good. And that self just keeps building on that. It thinks it knows everything. And I had to realize this anger is contributing to the creation of this self. And it creates this self over and over. And that's what the defilements do. That's the purpose of them. That's what they do. And now we get a little bit more personal. I wanted to get a little bit deeper into this and say, okay, well, that's good. Well, I want a little bit more. What do I do? Why was I so triggered that night? Why was I done that? So the other thing we want to do about our anger is we want to learn from it. We want to look at it. We want to sit with it. We want to be with it and learn from it. What is it telling me? And right now, I'm going to tell you what it told me, but it could change. I was reading an article in the Lion's Roar. It's by, it was Xenu Earthland Manual, who I don't know her. She's in the Theravadan tradition. She's the one that referred me to this book. She is a African-American nun, Buddhist nun, African-American Buddhist nun. And I thought, if anybody knows anything about anger, it's a Black woman in America, okay? So, but she talked about patience. She went into this thing, she was talking about patience, she was talking about that. And I kind of got that piece and what Shantideva said about it, but she said one thing. She said, the way of patience, and about patience being the key to subduing anger, the way of patience is to recognize anger and rage as unattended fear boiling over. And I stopped when I read that. It's unattended fear boiling over. So I thought, what unattended fear? And I kept, what is unattended fear? And I thought, well, it's something not attended, obviously. So what fear am I not paying attention to? So, and we've talked about that in here. Sometimes when we meditate, we can sit and we sit with things will start to arise. And I sat with this for a while. And my unattended fear now, right now, is, and what happens is we meditate, and we do this, things begin to come up. This is awareness, this is insight, this is wisdom allowing to come up. Is that I had a fear of rejection and helplessness. And when I see this stuff going on out there that's going on, I felt like it was a fear, my fear that I'm going to be rejected, that my ideas, my views, myself. And it goes back, we won't get into my childhood, it's valid. This sense of being rejected and being helpless. And that right now is my unattended fear. And that anger protects me from having that fear. That anger is keeping me from feeling that fear. And I need to be with that fear. I need to be with it. I need to see what's happening and what it feels like in that moment. And that's what I'm working on. This is not everybody's plan. This is what I'm doing. And so what I'm working on this, and it's whether it's for the next few months, the next 4 years, it's a way for me to develop peace. That's what I'm working on. And so the purpose of the talk tonight was also not only to get this particular situation, but to show that we take the teachings and we work with them, we massage them, we kind of see where they work and how they fit in your life. And then we have to put them into practice. We have to experience, they're experiential. What is this like for me? What is it like for me in my day-to-day to experience this, to be aware of this, to bring my mindfulness to it? And for me, it seems like a good use of my time if I'm looking for peace. Thank you for your attention.